Breaking news coverage continues here on Fox 4 and Fox Local. Here is the only photo we have right now of the suspected shooter, who police have identified as 29-year-old Joshua Yawn. This is a mugshot from 2015 following an arrest for possession of marijuana out of Collin County.
Police say he killed himself before they arrived this morning. He was perched on the roof of a nearby building.
David Brown, former Dallas police chief, was here in studio to brief us a little bit earlier.
Yeah, he was. He had a conversation with Hannah Battah and Sean Rabb.
We're joined now by former Dallas Police Chief Brown here, who also works as a security consultant. Upon hearing these initial reports from the scene, what do we know about the skill level of a shooter? I mean, being roughly 200 yards, maybe even less, away from the building and where that van, where those victims were shot. Do we think this was a skilled shooter involved here?
Strategically, tactically, to think about, I need to be in an elevated position. I need to be facing where people come in and out, took some planning. So not novice, just from the placement of this shooter, thinking about where to get in, how to get to the roof without being seen, laying prone, which makes you more stable, more accurate. But the distance is not that difficult.
And when you talk about laying prone, you're talking about on your stomach.
On your stomach.
Right.
Makes you more stable instead of trying to stand or or kneel. So there's some level of skill, but you could be someone who hunts and have that level of skill. It's not necessarily military or policing skill, but I would say the distance is not a really difficult distance to with a rifle. At all.
Does it change anything that it was dark outside and that it was raining, or do you think that maybe it was close enough that really anybody could have done this?
Not just the rain, the wind. It was really windy this morning, and so the windage is one thing you have to calculate to be accurate with a rifle. So the person had, again, not novice, not amateur, not necessarily professional. But I would say this person had a level of skill, a level of planning, at least a level of strategy to be able to pull this off and be accurate and hit someone.
And it may actually, the shooting itself about 6:40, 6:45 may have actually happened before that big line of rain and wind came through during morning drive. Either way, he had the advantage because he knew what he was going to do. He was in place. We don't know how long he'd been in place yet.
That's right.
We're going to find that out through surveillance cameras, aren't we, Chief?
That's right. So that's the next thing is the investigation, obviously, is ongoing, but it's still early to know how early was he there? What kind of planning went, getting his cell phone, his social media, getting into, people that knew him, getting some witness information from him is going to really be helpful in determining motive.
And there's never a shooter in a complete silo. Somebody knows him. There's always some family and some friends, somebody in a chat room or somewhere.
We're just not isolated anymore. We're connected, interconnected with social media especially, but we all have family and friends, and so it won't take long for investigators to be interviewing family and close associates to this person.
So while that is happening, this is the third or fourth time where we've seen ammunition with messages inscribed, written, printed on them. Your take on that? You hadn't seen that before now, really?
We have not seen that before now. Skilled shooters that's trying to do something untoward, something criminal, want to pick up their brass. They don't want to leave it there to send a message because they're trying to get away with the crime. So this person wants to be known what I'm focused on. Now, we're still not clear what that is. That could be almost anything still right now at this early stage. But this person wanted to send a message. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of manifesto or messaging on their social media.
And I think that also paints an interesting picture, right? This is a shooter who was well aware if you're inscribing messages on bullet casings, on ammunition, then you're perhaps also taking into account the fact that you may not survive this shooting.
That's right.
This is someone who may very well have been willing to put their own life on the line to get some sort of message across.
That's right. And think about this, trying to stir, this already messy dialogue around immigration with that message. So this person had not only bad intentions to harm other people for people, but they also wanted to stir our political division in the aftermath of this.
Yeah, and you have this this political messaging as well. Let's go back to the CEO of United Healthcare and the messaging around that, and then the subsequent shootings with messages, and then the Charlie Kirk shooting with messages scribbled on the casings. And now we see people saying, oh, this is the way for me to tell my story, even if I'm going to take my own life, which appears he fired his bullets and then turned the gun on himself.
That's right. Very, very harsh circumstance for these families. Families who are related to these people harmed don't care about the message. They care about their family member and their own safety. And even the public at large, we care less about, am I safe? We want to care about our safety, could care less about the messaging. Law enforcement could care less about the messaging. We worry about running toward bullets, running toward harm's way. We have families as police professionals. We want to survive these types of incidents. So, you know, I would set the messaging aside as something that the investigation will reveal around motive. Why did he do it, and were there any other people complicit with him and getting him to where he is, or that he talked to that should have reported it to law enforcement?
And you always have after actions, Chief, in law enforcement. After a big event like this, there's an after action. When that happens, and yes, it's down the road, but how does what could change about how ICE is doing its work?
First of all, not many people know where ICE locations are. There's no labeling, there's no signage hardly at ICE locations. But I also would say, you know, let's look at the high ground. Rooftop shooters are now no longer a one-off. Let's look at where our entrances and exits are and where the high ground is. And let's do some surveillance around that and some security measures around that, and maybe even move our entrances and exits so that we won't be exposed to rooftop high ground positions to create another level of safety.
Working as a security consultant, are these conversations taking place for all types of businesses nowadays?
Yes, all types of businesses in all sizes of cities. You would think big cities only have these problems. Now, big, small, large can all have these problems with these type of situations. So law enforcement needs to train across all sizes, and to include federal law enforcement, state and local police departments. Yeah.
Well, and you bring up about an interesting conversation too, and it's the polarization when it comes to the topic of immigration across the country. I mean, you served as the Dallas police chief for several years, and for the department here, it's also a local conversation. What do you think the Dallas Police Department's making of all of this? Well,
one thing we're trying to maintain as local law enforcement relationships with our communities. And the immigrant community is a relationship you have to maintain because they're witnesses to crimes, they're victims of crime, so you want them to report and help us solve crime. So you don't want to be part of the divisive conversations. You want to be neutral, apolitical as law enforcement. You can't take sides to be able to do your job in a most effective way.
Right, because if that community stops talking to you, that's a hindrance to investigation. It's a hindrance to even keeping that community safe.
You can't solve homicides without witnesses, without people willing to call you and trust you with that information. So you need all communities. And so you can't take sides. It's kind of my main point as a law enforcement professional. You have to really remain neutral to be able to do your job to get criminals off the street.
All right, David Brown, you served as our police chief, but also superintendent of police in Chicago. We thank you for coming in to visit with us today in this Dallas ICE shooting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
And David